My grandparents on my mother's side were missionaries in Peru back in the 1925. They actually went into the jungles of Peru and began sharing the gospel. And through circumstances, my grandmother actually had appendicitis in the jungle, and it took them 2 weeks to bring her out of the jungle to a hospital. There's no real medical reason to explain how she survived other than my grandfather had read the verse from Psalm 118, verse 17, that says, "He will not die, he will live to proclaim the glories of the Lord." My grandmother survived, and they came back to the States for her to recover. And my grandfather had actually suffered several heart attacks when they were in the jungle, so they were not able to go back to Peru. My grandmother then began to travel to Christian colleges, to churches, to camps, to share her story about the jungles of Peru, and trying to also recruit young people to go into the jungles and share the gospel. So when I met my husband, we had been dating for 3 weeks when he took me to his family reunion. Now, my husband's parents had been missionaries in Liberia, West Africa. And so to make conversation with his dad, I said, well, my grandparents were missionaries also. And he said, well, who was that? I said, Ross and Ruth Stoll. And my Jim's father said, I know Ruth Stoll. I heard her speak in chapel at Wheaton College when I was a student there. And he also said, and Ruth had a son named David and a daughter named Marilyn. I said, Marilyn is my mother. So Jim and I then got engaged, and what was so cool was to see how God had woven our lives together through our parents and grandparents. And then Jim's mother had heard my grandmother speak at Providence Bible Institute. And just to see how God put our lives together was really cool for me. Just sort of a story of his faithfulness. So I have this heritage from my grandparents who passed that on to us, to our family, and our goal is to continue in that godly heritage.